Assalamu alaikum, my name is Salim Siddiqui and thanks for watching this continuing series on hotconflict.com. Well, we've been talking about the subject of the unseen world. And today we're going to continue to talk about a few different subjects, and I'm going to do it in a slightly different way. As you know, we always do things a little bit strangely here at the hotconflict.com website, and the videos that we do always talk about a lot of different subjects. If you've been following this series, you know the first thing that we started with was the stories of the prophets. And today we're going to talk about some of the important concepts related to stories and storytelling. And of course, we're going to talk about some strange concepts, including issues from pop culture and modern day storytelling to even the apocalypse and the end of the world. And so I always like to give a little disclaimer that, of course, if you've never watched a video by the hotconflict.com website or any of my videos before, you really need to make sure you know what you're doing. We're talking about a lot of strange concepts. Of course, a lot of the audience that listens to these videos is aware of what's going on in the world today when we're talking about enlightenment or the ascension period, or the coming changes, the awakening. Many people calling themselves light workers, path showers, way showers, starseeds, indigos, rainbow warriors. So a lot of the people are understanding some of the concepts. Today we're going to talk about this idea of the story. Now, when we did the first series on the stories of the prophets, we gave a little bit of introduction to how the archetypal characters of each prophet progressed in our story to get us to where we are today, which is the process of ascension for the whole planet. Now, if you understand the reason why you should be looking for people who can explain to you the story properly, is you have to find people who understand the whole story. You have to understand that if you are going to be able to discern and decipher the truth, which is part of what you're trying to learn in your own personal story and struggle, then you have to be able to interpret and understand the scenes of life that you're living in by recognizing the stories that make up a life's journey, right? We understand from a spiritual level now that we're talking about concepts of the unseen and the way things work in this world, in this dunya, in this life matrix, that we are characters acting out life plans that we have contractually agreed to. Now, some of these concepts for many people are hard to understand, but if you're on the path of ascension like many other people, you understand that your character is a specific fated model, right? We said the concept that people have the hardest time grappling with is always what? The final fundamental of faith in the family of faith, which has always been fate, destiny, that both the good and the bad, everything that's happening, none of it is random, none of it is coincidental. Even that which appears to be negative is within the plan. And all of us, even though we have free will and can create new scenes and ad-lib our own lines, we have certain points in our life where we're destined to do certain things. And those scenes get enacted upon by everyone. Now, in this world where we're in, I'm a leading character. You're a leading character. Everybody's a leading character with their own unique journey. That's part of what you're supposed to understand as you realize what's happening in the world. That you are fated and have a destiny, and that each person's destiny is unique. It's one of the amazing qualities of a creator who has created so many souls, that each one in their uniqueness is a reflection of the beauty of the creation of all that is. So when we say that we understand fate, and many people in the enlightenment field or the New Age field talk about the creator, what we say in Arabic as Al-Khaliq, the prime creator, the supreme architect, as many of the brethren might say, the one who is the creator of the perfection of all that is. everything in life is part of that perfection. And so just as much as your story is an actual fated destiny that you're living out and you're discovering, and those of us on this journey who understand that we're on a path are experiencing this daily and trying to show others the way, this is what a path shower or a way shower does, you always have to figure out how to discern truth from falsehood. Now, of course, many people are starting to realize out there, a lot of the brothers and sisters are starting to realize, even at the higher realms and in different parts of what we're understanding, there are truths and there are falsehoods. And so we're getting into some strange areas. So today, I'm going to talk about a specific story that is occurring in pop culture. Because if you start to understand that everything in the matrix that we are existing in is part of a divine plan, part of the perfection of all that is, then you should understand that even the books and stories and tales of a culture are relevant to the development of that culture and even are specific to the exact time period. Well, many people on the path of ascension are realizing and coming very openly talking about some of the ancient myths of the Greeks or the Romans or the Indians or the Mayans or the Egyptians, and relating some of the stories and myths and legends and explaining and expressing the fact that a lot of what we thought was mythological or fantasy is actually more of an expression of reality. Actual characters, some of the mythological creatures and characters that we have in ancient myths, many people are realizing that those were not mythological and metaphorical, that they perhaps were characters that were more realistic than we had thought. Now, people are beginning to understand that a lot of the ancient scriptures are referring to experiences of the supernatural and spiritual that people are starting to awaken to in this modern age. And there's a general understanding now that perhaps all of the myths are perhaps more true than mythical. Well, strangely enough, in the perfection of all that is, there is an interesting concept that people are going to start to grasp, is that in the olden days, a storyteller was what? A shaman, a leader, a tribal elder, a figurehead of the group who had a divine insight, a spiritual understanding of what was going on around him, and he was the one that the group or the tribe or the community turned to, and he would tell the group, as the oral tradition goes, in the methodology of a story, the ups and downs and upheavals of a tale to show the people the signs and the posts along the way to see the light and the darkness so that people could learn how to travel the path and avoid the pitfalls. Now, in the olden days, before our modern civilization and technology, the people used to look at these leaders and look at them and revere them. The monks and the rabbis and the priests and the ministers who had the most humble of characters and the most deep of insights and wisdom. And they used to listen to their tales and understand that these tales had significance and value in forming the actual pattern and synchronicities that could explain your life journey. And this helped them on the path of ascension. But what many people didn't understand, and what was always understood by the spiritually advanced, was that the most wise knew that these visions that they had and these tales that they expressed were never the creations of their own mind. You see, all ancient communities understood that when their spiritual leaders were espousing the tales of their forefathers and the noble wisdom through allegories and myths, they were never fictitious. The spiritual leaders always understood that that which they were imagining or manifesting or secretly wishing, as many of the New Age modernists talk about the ability to manifest in your mind the visual capabilities. They always understood them as being a expression in the mind of a noble person understanding their connection to all that is, gleaming from the divine matrix and the life of breath of all that is, and understanding as a visionary what was happening somewhere or sometime in a way that expressed a story. They did never think that they were the creators of their tales. They were never so arrogant to assume that they had invented these tales. They understood at a deeper level that these tales were like the dreams of a person on the path of enlightenment. That dreams and visions and tales and visions of a visionary man who was spiritually connected and wasn't lost had value because they were from a higher realm of understanding that is not the stuff of dreams and legends, but that the stuff of dreams and visions is the reality. And the truth that you are seeing here is the dream. And those that are living in this world who don't have that connection to the higher realm are called the lost. The very opening of the Quran is Al-Fatiha, the opening of the book. It is known as al-Kitab, the mother of the book, as anyone who is clearly on the path to ascension. And oh, my brothers and sisters, I am a Muslim, and I say it very clearly, and I am awake. And I am telling all my brothers and sisters on the path, you must know each and every brother of the family of light. And the final messenger with the final message was the Prophet Muhammad. And that final book was the Quran. And the opening chapter is the mother of the book. Because if you are on the path of ascension, you must know that you must gain the emotional connection. Whether you are a woman, obviously that is easy, but especially if you are a man. And this is why it's important for me as a man to express it very clearly, the emotional connection to the mother and to the heart that must be acknowledged, because Muslims are always accused of lacking that ability. And so, as an evidence, I must stress that the first chapter of the Quran is called Al-Kitab, the mother of the book, meaning the heart, the emotional center. And the Fatiha, the opening, is espoused of such great qualities that anyone should go look into it and see. Now, the very first verse, in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praises to Allah, again the term Allah being the God, the creator of all that is, the one who has created you, me, and this world, and all of the skies, and all of the beings within the skies, and the angels, and the jinns, and all that is part of all that is the creator. High above all that is, anything that he has created is the creator of all that is. Allah, the God. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Praise be to Allah, Lord of all the worlds, all the species, all the planets, all the races. The very first line of the Quran, in the very first chapter, acknowledges that Muslims have been admitting and openly saying that there are many worlds. There are many worlds. And the key of discernment on the path, my brothers and sisters, is to figure out who is the creator of everything. To worship the God and none of the beings in between. that have been posing as false gods in any of the time from the beginning of this story, which has gone for many, many, many millions of years, on many, many planets in many, many galaxies, my brothers and sisters. We all know this now. The very end part of Surah Al-Fatiha is the pledge or the prayer, O Lord, guide us on the straight path. As those upon the light will always say, this is always a battle between darkness and light, and those upon the light will always want to be on the straight path, the middle path, the moderate path, never too much to the right, never too much to the left. Guide us along the straight path, the path of those who have your honor and your blessing, not the path of those who have earned your anger, al-maghdubi wal-dhalin, or of those who are lost. Now, this specific chapter or opening part of the Quran is what every Muslim recites in every circuit of the prayer, every day, 5 times, praying to the Lord to guide all of us to stay on the path of enlightenment and not get distracted by the dark, not to be of those who get so arrogant that we earn the wrath of God or his anger because we lose track of it, or those who become lost. And now lost is a term that implies that you have somehow disconnected your soul from the higher realms, because we all know, those of us who are believers, that our soul is connected bihablillah, by the rope of Allah, by the cord of light to your soul, that you have this divine spark, the ruh, the soul. Since we're talking about the spiritual and the unseen, that this is what connects us, and that those who forget this become literally disconnected, and they get lost in the world. And so since we're talking about stories and the importance of the story, we've been dealing with a lot of issues, and so today I wanted to talk about a specific story that is from pop culture and do something fun and exciting and media savvy, because a lot of what we do on the pop culture hot conflict thing is talk about common stories from America that reflect what people are watching. Now, one of the most important shows that has been on the air for the last few years is called Lost. Now, if you've been watching this show and you're a fan of The Lost, today is your wake-up call, brothers and sisters. All right, here we go. My name is Salim Siddiqui, and yes, you're watching the Hot Conflict Unseen series, and today we're going to be talking about the show Lost. Now, the final finale of the show Lost left us with some amazing issues. If you're understanding the importance of storytelling, then you're seeing something strange happening on television, and that is that the story Lost, because of the changes in the media and the fact that many people are watching stories and alternative forms of the internet and TV shows and DVDs and streaming and all kinds of other forms, television is changing, and what used to be franchisable television, which means a single story in a single hour that can be repeated over and over again and you can watch it once, and if you missed an hour it didn't matter. Lost is a show that shows you a tale in long form fashion, and why that is important is if you've listened to the story of truth, then you understand that a tale, to show you the signs and to be able to read the moral signpost and lightpost, has to be shown in a long tail fashion, because you have to be able to get used to and accustomed to the characters and see their rises and falls, because all people go on a natural journey in life, and iman yazidu wa yunqus. This is a fundamental of faith, that your faith ebbs and flows, my brethren. Your faith, the light, goes in phases and cycles, and your goal is always to try and work on it and recognize the patterns that you see. Now, the story of Lost in the TV show is about a group of people who get lost. Their plane crashes on an island, and they start to realize, each in their own unique way on this island, that things that are happening to them are happening for a reason. And strange supernatural events start to occur, and they realize that this island is a strange and different place. And characters start to experience supernatural phenomena, and they start to experience what we call the steps of the journey, the beginning of the Lightworker path, the synchronicities and the juxtaposition of occurrences that lead one to believe that there is more going on than just random events and coincidences, because so many things are happening that you start to begin to see a pattern. Different people in different ways. Some people find it in numbers. Some people find it in nature. Some people find it in their dreams. Some people find it in the way a story is played out. And some people have the ability to take a story or a dream or a tale and explain the signposts and tell you what they mean, so you can then read them for yourself. The people on the island realize that there is a lot going on, and we go through a tale of the supernatural between the light and the dark, and what fate has destined, and people begin to see different things. Many fans of the show have been talking about some of the spiritual concepts on the show, some of the religious concepts of the show. Some of the things I wanted to explain, for especially of those who are light workers, is that you have to understand that when we say that everything in a person's character is fated and destined, of course we always have free will, right? We say that as humans we have free will, and jinns, the other beings in many of the interdimensional realms, have free will. Angels, on the other hand, do not have free will, right? So we always have the choice to make our own decision. And you see that issue being played out in the story of Lost, especially in the season finale of The Incident, where we have the reveal of Jacob, the leader of the island, who is offering everybody the moral choices in their life to help them along in their journey. Jacob, by the way, is a guide on the path of ascension. He helps people step up each level so that they can elevate themselves and enlighten themselves and climb up what you may call Jacob's ladder. Some of the signposts are so obvious that anybody should be able to understand them. Now, we see people going through various dilemmas in the show, and we see various things happening to people. A lot of the people have not begun to understand that when we say that each one of us is fated, and even though we have free will, that which has occurred in our matrix, in our reality, must have been written, must be in the Akashic records, is destined by God in the Lawh al-Mahfuz, the preserved tablet. Once it has occurred, anything that exists, whether it be a book or a story or a random person who speaks to you, every random event is not random. And so therefore, the idea that stories and fiction are somehow useless is really not appreciating the amazing nature of the creation. Now, in Islam, we have a saying that fate is to be understood at a level where we understand that even the good and the bad is by the destiny of the Creator. That each one of us acts out our very actions as destined by the Creator, with our own flavor and free will, that is true. But we have certain key posts along the stage of our acting career where we must act out certain scenes. And we try to do them as best we can, and when we pass them, we ascend to the next level. And many of us, as you know, myself included, we unfortunately repeat scenes over and over in our life until we get them straight. We sometimes screw up our dialogue, we act out a scene totally incorrectly, and we say the wrong thing, and we realize, you know what, I really should have done that much, much better. And later on in life, we learn to repeat these tests in life. Now, the story of Lost shows how each character develops, and shows how each character ascends and understands the ramifications of the decisions that they have made in life. And the story uses elaborate flashbacks and forwards and time travel and many of the spiritual supernatural concepts that many along the ascension path would appreciate if they were watching the television show. Unfortunately, many people in the ascension community or in the enlightenment community have thought that television is something to be shunned. Especially people in the Muslim community have just said that anything on television is evil. Now, there is an obvious disclaimer that I have to give, that of course there is such nonsense on television, and we all know that. There is many things that are considered total rubbish, right, on television. But there are certain beautiful movies and stories and plays that people could admire and understand. Now, when we say that هو الذي خلقكم وأفعالكم, this is a very high-level concept in Arabic, that Allah has created you and your actions, that your very actions are created by God. If He has created us, the believers, of course, we on the enlightenment path who believe in the Creator wholeheartedly and understand and have been given the blessing of feeling that light, know that He has created us, and know that we are humbled that we are so blessed to even understand a little bit of the light, that the Lord has destined for us everything. That we are humbly admitting it is not by our great actions that we are blessed to see anything. It is that the Lord is merciful. But He has destined for us, and that we acknowledge that. We understand that wholeheartedly. The fact is, He has destined the actions of the disbelievers as well. And even the shayateen, even the jinns. He has destined all of their actions. So has He not destined the writing of an author? Has He not destined the production of a movie? Has He not destined the song of a singer? Has He not destined the production of a film? Is there anything that isn't in the perfection of all that is? Of course, this is a very high level for people to understand. But those of you who are calling yourself light workers, you should understand this. And if that is true, then you should begin to understand that fiction is just like any dream. And if you pay attention to the details, you must learn to be able to read stories like dreams and discern for yourself. Rising to the next level of ascension requires each one of us to be able to discern what is true by ourselves, so that we are not reliant on anyone at any level, at any realm that could exist. You worship one and only one. This is the essence of a muwahid. This is the essence of Tawheed, true, pure monotheism. This is the law of one at its most pure form, which is what the Muslims have been trying to educate the Western community about, understanding Allah, the only true creator of all that is. That oneness of realizing everything is connected at that level, that even the fiction is something that you can read the signs of. If you haven't watched the show Lost and understood what is going on, then you are missing out on something that is amazing, that is relevant, that is occurring in real time, that is explaining so much about the ascension path, my brothers and sisters. You must begin to understand that there is truth in fiction for those who have the ability to discern. It is in fiction, it is in movies, it is in everything that you see. The light does not need to be bought, it should not be sold. Long gone are the times of going after fake gurus and weekend courses, my brothers and sisters. Seek and you shall find. Ask sincerely the question, and within a few days you should find your answer. Just be open to it and look for it. What you want is to not be lost.